Greetings, Nousionauts. This is Chris Lott, your instructor, and in this brief screencast, I'm going to go over some important course information, including my expectations for you and what you can expect from me, the 4 C's critical to success in this class, and some basic syllabus information that I think will be useful before you get started. Let's start with some expectations and requirements. First and foremost, because this is a 3-credit course that's held during a shortened 12-week term, you should expect to spend 10 to 12 hours per week at a minimum participating in the course. Also, you will not be able to pass the course unless you can log in and work on it at least a few times per week. Generally, students who are successful log in 3 to 5 times per week to work specifically on course activities, projects, and other requirements. If you're planning to just log in on the weekends and try to get all the work done, that is not going to work. Second, public presence is an important part of digital citizenship. So in this course, you will be required to work out in the open. You're going to engage in conversation, you're going to write, you're going to make things, and you're going to do all of this in the open web using your real name. Think of it like a practicum or an internship. You can't wear a mask during your practicum, you don't wear a mask during your internship, and you can't use a virtual mask during this course either. As part of that public presence, you will not only need to access a number of websites, you will need access to a WordPress-based site on a custom domain. You may already have such a site, particularly if you're in the ONID program already. If you do, you can just use that. If you don't, you will need to sign up for hosting along with a domain name and install WordPress on that domain. I strongly recommend Reclaim Hosting, which is $30 for a year, including the domain name, but you can use any web host you'd like. The only requirement is that you can install WordPress and potentially other applications on that site. If none of that makes any sense to you, that's okay. That'll be one of the first activities we do as part of this class. Finally, other than standard UAF tools like your UAF email and Blackboard account, you will be using Slack as the communication hub for this class. Again, if you've never used Slack before, that's okay. You'll learn about it and sign up for it as part of the first week of class activities. With that, let's turn our attention to the 4 C's, or the components that make up most of your grade in this course. That is collection, communication, connection, and commitment. Collections are essentially portfolios. Every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the schedule, you'll gather together links to everything that you've done, both required assignments and not. You'll publish them to your site, and you'll submit a link to me to that post so that I can check out what you've done. There are due dates listed in the schedule, and if I have to, I'll deduct points for late work. But the bottom line is I really care about learning much more than points. So as long as you talk to me, we can work around your scheduling and your needs when it comes to those deadlines. I can be flexible as long as I'm not being taken advantage of. The second C is communication. Communication is simply the minimum number of interactions required to complete your collections. If you complete your collections, you've de facto completed the communication requirement. If you don't communicate, whether it's with your partners in crime, your collaborators, your commenters, or myself, then you'll lose some points for communication. Connection is probably the most important piece on top of both communication and collections. Connection is when you interact beyond the minimum. It's where I see that you're doing more than the minimum needed to complete your collections. It's where you're in dialogue with other people in the class, with other students, maybe with the world, depending on where you're publishing. It's where you're coming up with ideas. It's where you're making up your choice assignment. It's where you're responding to comments that are made for you, where you're communicating with me above and beyond the minimum. And finally, there's commitment. Commitment is kind of a holistic assessment that I will make of your engagement with the class, with the world, with the content, and with me. Did you ask questions? Did you engage with others in the class? Did you challenge me? Did you challenge yourself? Did you argue? Did you debate? Were you sparked? Were you fired up? That's commitment. I'm going to look at everything that you've done and give you the commitment grade. Now that kind of assessment of commitment can seem vague and uncomfortable, but that's kind of the way it's going to be in a creative class like this. If you have any questions about commitment or any of the other 4 C's, use the contact tab, get in touch with me somehow, and we'll talk it through. Last but not least, let's take a look on the syllabus page at the actual grading in the course and the point values. If it were up to me, there would be no grades in this course. But since there are, I've tried to make it as simple as possible. The entire course comprises 1,000 points. If you do the minimum amount of work, you can easily get a C. If you respond to my request for corrections, you have as many do-overs as you want for assignments, as long as you need, as long as you meet the deadlines for initial submission, then you can easily get an A in this course. In the history of the course, and I'm actually proud of this isn't grade inflation, about 95% of students get A's, a couple get C's, and a few drop out. Hopefully you'll be an A student. The bottom line here, I'm not interested in grades. I'm not interested in points. I'm not interested in make work. What I'm interested in is your engagement, that you're making things, that you're doing things, that you're connecting with others and with myself, and that you're exploring what digital citizenship means. As long as you do that, you're going to do great in this course. And assuming this is all acceptable to you, go ahead and jump to the Get Started section. And don't forget to check your email for your initial email from me and first contact assignment. And let's get going. Oh yeah, one more thing. There's a contact tab in the main menu bar for a reason. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with me with any questions you might have, large or small. Email is a fine place for that. Slack is probably the best once you're set up with that. You can reach me on Twitter or Google Chat or Skype. The important thing is that you don't worry about getting in touch with me. This isn't a correspondence class. I'm here to help and guide and facilitate and be a resource for you. Make use of me. That's what I'm here for.